Hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Lenny and this is my trailer. My plan is to turn this thing into a tiny home on wheels. Stick around to find out how it goes. So, I just bought a 7x14 cargo trailer, enclosed cargo trailer. And it's kind of a piece of shit. My plan is to convert it into a camper. Needs a lot of work. Got it for a good price. Should be fun. All right, I am here in the rain with my new trailer, and I'm gonna show a quick video to show what state it's in before I start demolishing all the inside of it. So first of all, bumper's a little rough. That's something we gotta work on. Outside doors for sure need to be redone. The hinges are pretty beat. There's some damage up there. I got some, what's that? That's a missing light or some sort. And this is the front of the trailer. So just to give you some context of what I bought, this is a 7x14 enclosed cargo trailer. You can see on the sides, we've got some shitty beat up fenders. We've got some ladder racks. It's parked in a little bit of a dirty spot here, but you get an idea for the size of this thing and the shape it's in, really not the best shape, but not terrible. We got some lights out, some damage up on top of the rear doors. And then we'll walk around to the other side and you can see I've already removed the fender over on this side. And you can see all the damage from tire rut there. So yeah, could be in better shape. Let's see, at least we got electrical. We got some outlets, some power cords, a nice light up here. On the inside, let's see, 0.5 lens. Plywood to source. We got some nice plywood over here. We're gonna be able to make some shit out of that for sure. Got all these sorts of hooks. Not gonna need to buy any hooks. L brackets, a light. It doesn't work because the battery's not hooked up. But I think I could probably fix that pretty easily. We got a skylight. This is actually my favorite feature so far. Probably gonna make it bigger. Shelf up here, all gonna come out, of course. A door that's a little beat up. Gonna put a nice big window in that. And yeah, so this is what we got. I think this is an oil stain because it doesn't dry, and I don't think it leaks. It seems dry. I think it's an oil stain. So, all right, here we go. Let's do some demo. And roll the time lapse. I'll do some narrating here to fill you in on what's going on while the time lapses roll. Just taking apart these shelves that came pre-installed. These is actually some really nice wood, some lightweight plywood, that light colored stuff back there. But yeah, just enjoy some mellow music, and I'll pipe in when I see something interesting. There are probably 100,000 screws in this trailer that I took out, holding all the shelving and the wood solid. All right, we got the fender over here. Gonna pop that guy off. And then I think I'll show you I fixed up these this fender damage next. All right, so here's a project. Previous owner put these tires on it. They're 225 wide. I think 205s came stock. Lots of rubbing. The solution over here was, of course, just fucking yeet the sheet metal right out of there. So that's the wood I'm about to take out. It's just right there. Didn't quite realize that when I bought this. Looks like we're needing new sheet metal panels. Sweet. So that's what the left side looks like, and this is the right side. Similar levels of damage over here on the right. Definitely needs to be repaired. My plan is to just get new sheet metal. It's just aluminum sheet metal, and just chop out the bad stuff and screw in some good stuff. So yeah, you can see the previous owner did some pretty bad damage there. Now at this point, you might be wondering, Lenny, dog, your tires were too wide. They were rubbing on your body. You're gonna replace that beat up sheet metal with fancy new sheet metal? They're just gonna get ruined again. Well, yeah, I thought of that. New wheels and tires maybe down the line. For now, we're doing wheel spacers. And you'll probably notice I got rusty brakes and springs, so maybe those will be updated in a future video. But for now, enjoy the time lapse of me splicing in some fresh sheet metal. And so there's the finished product. Came out pretty good looking. The next step is just to paint it and then refinish my fender and get that back on. So to refinish the fenders, they're pretty rusty and cracked. So basically just tore them off, wire wheeled them with an angle grinder to get the rust off. My friend helped me weld some of the cracks, and then I did a rust reformer coat and a bed liner coat to get them nice and spiffy and looking like new. And here's a video of me installing. Now, to close out my first video, enjoy watching me remove this brake drum while I tell you about all the other fun exterior projects I have been enjoying taking care of on this wonderful trailer. It's not a pain at all. Well, first of all, if you've never serviced trailer brakes, I highly recommend doing it in a swampy area. That way you can get all sorts of sand, dirt inside the wheel bearings. Really a great advantage to doing this in a swamp. So when you buy a trailer, always a good idea to make sure your brakes work, preferably before you purchase the trailer. I did not do this. On my way home with the trailer after buying it, I found out that, well, the brakes work, but they didn't grab particularly hard. So after further inspection, two of the brakes, the front axle, those were missing the wires for the magnets in the brake drums were just not working. So I had to replace the magnets in the brake drums and got those working. But this particular brake that you can see me working on here, it was just full of grease. Like whoever packed the bearings beforehand had just filled it way too much with grease. You really don't need that much. So word of caution to anyone packing these easy fill, easy lube hubs on trailers is just do it until a little bit of grease starts to push through the outside of the bearings. And then you're good. Because if you keep going, you're just going to grease up your brake pads and you're never going to get any braking friction. So I think new brakes all around are in order, but that's lower on the priority list. Once I move into it, we'll see how it stops, and then consider doing new brakes at that point. The other thing I want to do down the line is potentially lift it. You can see that these are dropped axles, so the axle is lower than the center line of the wheel, and you can just get straight axles that would give me a bit of a lift, maybe like a 3-4 inch lift on this thing. So that's something I'm planning to do down the line. But anyway, some of the other exterior items that I didn't film but worked on were, let's see, I was missing some sheet metal, had some sheet metal damage above the rear door, rusty paint on the rear bumper, really the whole rear door frame area. So I painted that, and turns out the rear door frame actually had some cracks in the corners. So my friend welded those for me, which was awesome. Now, since this is my first YouTube video on this channel about my trailer build, I just wanted to close it out with some answering some questions you might be wondering, mostly about why the heck did I decide to build a house out of a cargo trailer instead of just converting a van and doing regular ass van life, or I don't know, buying a camper that was already built out to live in. Maybe that would have been a good idea. But I didn't do that, and so let me tell you why.
So my goal is to move into this thing in a few months or so, depending on how long it takes to get it livable. But the main reason I went for a trailer instead of the more conventional van life van is because of this little thing over here. I hope I'm pointing to it. That is my Nissan Xterra, and it is capable of towing a trailer. And it's also a good vehicle that I don't want to get rid of. And so if I buy a van, then I just have a van as my daily. But with a trailer, you can leave it somewhere, a campsite, I don't know. You could just leave it places. And you still have a regular ass car. With a van, then that's just one thing and your house is always with you. So that was my logic for going with a trailer. So the next thing you might be wondering is why build a tiny house out of a landscaping cargo trailer as opposed to just buying a camper? And there were a few reasons. Cost was one of them. This trailer right next to me cost a lot less than a camper trailer, or at least one in semi-reasonable shape. This was actually $3,300. Very used, rough shape, but a pretty good deal for the skeleton of a house. The next reason I went for a trailer is that I can customize the layout to exactly what I want. With a camper trailer, you're just set with what you have. And I didn't want that. I wanted to have a good place to store my bikes and all of my outdoor equipment. I wanted to have, the heating and electrical system that I wanted for my purposes. So I felt like starting with a blank slate and building from the ground up was really the best way for me to get the house that I wanted to live in. The other great thing about a cargo trailer is that this is just a big square on wheels, which means in terms of having the maximum internal living space in relation to the external footprint, this is the best way to do it. I got 7-foot tall ceilings, and it is a 7 wide by 14 long. And if you got something with that same footprint that fits in the same size parking spot, if you got a camper, you'd have a lot less internal space. You'd have a lot less room for stuff on the inside because they just aren't built the same as I'm planning to build this. And if you got something with the same space, then it has a bigger footprint. So That's another reason. I think that's it. Now, the downside to purchasing a cargo trailer and building a house out of it, as opposed to just buying a camper, is that it takes a lot of work, and that takes time. So basically, sacrifice time in exchange for some money, but I also wanted to build this as a skills building thing. You know, I've learned so much already, and as you can see, I'm not very far. Oh, wait a minute. You're not supposed to see this yet. Forget you've seen this. This is coming in a future episode. But basically, learning how to build this from scratch has been really satisfying and enjoyable for me. And that is another big reason I decided to build a house out of a cargo trailer from the ground up instead of just buying a camper that was pre-built. But if you have the money and you don't have the time, just go buy a camper. Way easier. But if you're like me and you just enjoy building shit from scratch and you love putting in the work and the time and learning, then stick around and watch how I built a house out of this trailer.
Coming up in the next video, we got solar panels, skylights, windows, a floor, some water tanks, new rear doors, insulation. It's all good stuff. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video.
Little freaking spider. Little freaking spider.